Traxxas has recently announced their brand new Rustler 4x4 brushless, which is the successor to the Rustler 4x4 VXL that I have. In this video, I'm gonna go over everything new with the Rustler 4x4 brushless, as well as what I love and what I'm concerned about. Let's start off with the most noticeable upgrade, and that is the body. And I'm not just talking about the new colors, which although I think are awesome, don't make a difference in how the truck performs. The body has 4 latches as opposed to 2 on the previous model. And that's great because on my Rustler 4x4, the body would occasionally pop off after some heavy bashing. But the real problem I was having with it was this body would come over the front bumper and it was starting to crack the body, and it just got really annoying. I know that issue has a lot more to do with chassis flex than it does with the actual body mounting, but still, I'm hoping that Traxxas has fixed that issue. You simply put the body on the new Rustler on top of the vehicle and push it on, and that's much simpler than fumbling around with the body on the old Rustler and dealing with this latch. That new clipless body should make battery swaps even faster than they were. And real quick, I do want to mention the new colors because I love them so much. The old colors were good, but the color options blended in so much with all the other Traxxas models. The new color schemes are so fresh, and I especially love the American flag body, which is perfect for the July release, and the electric blue body. One of the biggest upgrades that people have asked for, and that I certainly have wanted, are the GTR shocks on the standard model. Now, the Ultimate has had the metal GTR shocks ever since it came out, but this new Rustler has plastic GTR shocks, and they have the adjustable collar so that you can adjust ride height and spring stiffness without having to use those silly preload spacers. They're not a pain, but it's so much easier to use that collar than to snap those preload spacers on and off. And you can also get way more precise with the shock collar. This upgrade has been long overdue, but I'm glad Traxxas has finally come around to adding it. Another thing that a lot of people have experienced with the Rustler and similar models is the drive shaft bending. And Traxxas thinks they have the solution. There's a central bearing that the drive shaft now goes through that should prevent that. What concerns me is in the images, the drive shaft does look like plastic. And I know plastic can bend back, but I'm worried that the new plastic drive shaft will snap easily. I really wish Traxxas would just go back to using a metal one. I feel like they're really cheaping out here. They really took one step forward and one step backward with that one upgrade. Besides the body, one upgrade you will notice right off the bat are the new Sledgehammer ST tires. The Sledgehammer tires are quickly becoming Traxxas's most used tires. They look like they grip really well on dirt and gravel, and it seems like the ST model tires they're using on the new Rustler will grip the concrete a little bit better. They also seem to be made of a slightly harder compound than the standard Sledgehammer tires, so they shouldn't balloon out as much. I know on my Rustler, the Talon EXT tires are super soft. They balloon, in my opinion, too easily, and they actually came unglued, and I blew one of the rear tires out, swapped them out for the Gravix tires, which I like a lot better. They grip really well, and I'm hoping that the Sledgehammer ST tires grip even better. Perhaps the most requested for upgrade is the new metal geared steering servo. Thank you, Traxxas. We've been asking for this forever. This has been long overdue. The plastic gear servo, no matter what you do, it is going to break, and you are going to have to replace it with either a metal geared servo or just swap out the plastic gears. But the plastic gear servo is honestly trash, and I feel like for $400, you should get a better servo if you're gonna have to replace it anyway. What concerns me is that on the product listing for the new Rustler, the part number for the new servo appears to be 2057. The weird part about that is the servo in the previous model is a 2075, a higher number. Now, I don't know exactly how the Traxxas part numbers work when they come out with new models, so I don't know if this servo is replacing the part number of an older servo and they didn't have a higher part number above 2075 that they could use. But the 2075 only has 125 ounce-inches of torque, not very much. So I'm worried that the 2057 is gonna have the same amount or possibly less, which would just be unacceptable. So I'm really hoping that the new metal geared servo, although more durable, still has more torque because, come on Traxxas, what are you doing? It's 2026. Arrma seems to be using slightly faster and higher torque servos than Traxxas now. And I feel like a really easy way for Traxxas to really get ahead of Arrma is to just put better servos in. It's another cheap out method that they've been using to use these plastic gears, but the metal gears hopefully bring them back up to what Traxxas should be. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a product listing of the 2057 servo anywhere on the Traxxas website, so I don't have any specs. We'll just have to wait until we get closer to that release date. Now, we're getting into the controversial upgrades or downgrades that Traxxas is starting to make. So instead of using the TQI receiver, which has 6 channels to plug all kinds of stuff into, the new Rustler has a TQI Sport receiver, they're calling it, which only has 3 channels, and the ESC takes up 1. The servo takes up 1, which only leaves 1 left to plug in something else. So if you want to plug in something else, you're going to need an extender, and that's just going to cost more money. I'm sure people are not going to be a fan of that. And to connect to that receiver, Traxxas is including the new TQI Sport transmitter, which is extremely controversial, and let me show you why. So this is the TQ regular transmitter, 2 channels that came with the Rustler 4x4 VXL, and I love it. On the TQ Sport transmitter, first you'll notice that it is smaller. They say it's more ergonomic, and there's even an attachment on the handle here that you can take off if you have smaller hands. Now that sounds great, but how tightly does that fit on? Does it slip off? Are there sharp edges that will hurt as you're driving the truck around? I don't know. There's a product listing for the transmitter, but there are no pictures. The description is pretty vague, but what I could find is that gone is the multifunction knob. To adjust the TSM, there's either an on or off switch. You can't go from 0 to 100%. I like to leave my TSM at 50%. I feel like it gives me good stability and reduces oversteer while still keeping the truck very stable. Turning the TSM up to 100 is great for straight line speed, but at 50 to 70%, where I like to keep it, it's just more fun to drive. Now, I'm only speculating, but it is possible that Traxxas has baked in variable TSM that's automatic. Like it can automatically detect how off-center the truck is getting and adjust. When you're going over less bumps, it's possible that it does dial down the TSM to make it more fun. No idea, just speculation. Another downgrade on the new transmitter that I noticed was it only has 1 button, and that's gonna make it a lot harder to adjust the settings. You can see here on the old Rustler that we have 3-piece camber links, and they are adjustable. You turn these ends here to set the toe. But the problem is when I was at the skate park, I had a really bad crash and I messed up my toe. Now I have a really bad, well, not really bad, but a greater negative toe than it was stock. And I'm worried that's gonna cause steering issues. But on the new Rustler 4x4 brushless, it has 1-piece camber links. Those should be much stronger, although you will lose that adjustability, which racers like, but personally, I don't use that adjustability. I want the stronger camber links. I love that the new motor and ESC come with fans mounted already. I paid $25 to put this fan on this ESC, and technically it's not waterproof, but it's held up just fine all the times I've gotten this truck wet, so maybe that's not an issue. But it did cost extra money. And then I also put a heatsink on the motor, which was another 10 bucks, but the motor on the new Rustler just comes with a heatsink and a fan already attached. The controversial part here is the internal fan in the motor. So that should keep it cooler, which is great if you live in a tropical environment where the truck overheats very easily when you overgear it. Should make your motor last a lot longer. The problem is, to make that internal fan work, there needs to be air ports on the side of the motor. So if there's ports on the motor, that means that dirt and sand and even water can easily get inside and jam it up. That's gonna create resistance, create heat, and effectively do the opposite of what the cooling fan was supposed to do. Now you may be asking yourself, why don't you just clean the dirt out? To clean the motor out, you'd have to take it apart, and taking the motor apart effectively destroys it. There is no way to put it back together unless you are an expert. You'd have to buy a whole new motor, and that's just not worth it. Hopefully Traxxas has thought of this and this won't be an issue, but it does very much concern me. I love that the new Rustler goes 50 miles per hour stock. The old Rustler only went 40 miles per hour stock. But what concerns me is that on the new Rustler listing, there's nothing saying you can upgrade it to make it go faster. Now I know technically you can always take the motor out, put a new pinion gear on with more teeth, and put a new spur gear in the transmission with less teeth to make it go faster. But it's a little worrisome that Traxxas doesn't say anything about that. Like with the old Rustler 4x4, it could go up to 65 miles an hour. And there was a chart saying how to gear it up to do that. But also technically there you could put a higher gear ratio in to make it go even more than 65 miles an hour. You just ran a high risk of burning out the motor, especially in a tropical environment. This is probably Traxxas being more honest with their top speeds, which I completely appreciate. All the other RC manufacturers are dishonest about their top speeds as well. There's all kinds of fine print that you have to read, and some RCs even require that you buy additional parts, not just additional gears, like full-on upgrades to make the thing go faster. And that just doesn't seem right that the manufacturer would claim a top speed that you can only get with additional parts. So, is the new Rustler worth it? Well, if your current Rustler is sitting in the garage with multiple parts broken that have been upgraded in the new Rustler, then I would say yes, go for a new Rustler. If you're a beginner, I would also advise that you get a Rustler. It's $50 cheaper than the Armacraton 4S at $400, and it's $30 cheaper than the old Rustler 4x4 VXL. It's also bigger than the Armacraton Mini 3S and the Mini XRT. Personally, I'm saving up for a Max Ultimate because I've gotten into some heavy bashing, definitely pushed the limits of my Rustler, so I think a Max Ultimate will better suit me in the future, help me make better videos. But I love my Rustler, and I'm super excited to see all the new upgrades that Traxxas is bringing to it. Traxxas has fixed every single issue that I've had with my Rustler so far, and although they've cheaped out in some ways, it's clear that they've made a lot of upgrades as well. Hey, if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and check out my links in the description where you can find my merch, a link to the Rustler 4x4 VXL if you want to get it before it's completely gone and deleted from the Traxxas store. I also offer video editing services, so if you have a YouTube channel of your own, you can click on the link in the description to hire me to edit your videos. I'll see you in the next video.